Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I am your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me a very special guest, Ryan Foizey. Ryan is an experienced SEO specialist with a strong background in digital marketing. He has a proven track record of optimizing websites for search engines, improving search engine ranking, and driving traffic to websites. His expertise in SEO is complemented by his proficiency in WordPress, creative concept design, art direction, and search engine ranking. He is a creative professional with a keen eye for design and an ability to translate strategic objectives into visual solutions that engage audiences and drive results. Ryan is currently the Director of Strategic Consulting at Seafoam Marketing Consultancy and Agency, where he leads the development and implementation of digital marketing strategies for a range of clients. Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Hey, Ryan, how would your university professors describe you as a student?
I think they probably describe me as, and again, these aren't my words, but probably bright, but distracted.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you major?
I think they'd say that, he's got the goods. We just can't get him to focus.
Okay. How would you, what did you major in university?
Music with jazz emphasis and theater with directing emphasis. Yeah. So I actually, by trade, am a very creative individual and kind of backed my way into digital marketing.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in digital marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I got out of Cedar Rapids after school. I wanted to get into a little bit larger market. This was back when, in my younger days, when I had ambitious eyes on becoming a successful artist. And I still have eyes for it. As you can see in the background, it's never left me. It's part of me and always will be. But and coming down to St. Louis, I got little odds and ends jobs here and there while I was picking gigs and acting and singing and directing and live musicals and theater. And so I played that circuit for a while, and I was making sub sandwiches at a shop in the Loop. Became the assistant manager there. And then by way of connections with people, friends, knowing people who know people who know people, I ended up interviewing for the digital marketing assistant job for a small growing agency in St. Louis by the name of Clicks. So during my tenure there, I applied for that job and was awarded it, I think in large part because I had started my own theater company. And when I started my own live theater production company, I sort of had to learn how to navigate marketing as an accidental artist administrator. That marketing hat fell on me, right? I was a one-man shop. And so I just kind of had to learn my way through things by practical application. And so I think that awarded me this digital marketing assistant job where I was literally claiming SEO listings and optimizing GMBs. I was doing manual backlink outreach. This is what I was calling media companies and talking to webmasters about providing my attorney client with a backlink for the quote. And, I was very, very in the weeds, manually kind of grunt working through that SEO journey. And that was back about the foundational stuff. Right. And I think, I feel like, it came at a perfect time for me because it gave me guidance and it gave me direction and it gave me structure in that sort of 9-to-5 atmosphere. But I also enjoyed it a great deal. And so I celebrated my wins, my backlinks and all that. And I just kept going and I kept getting curious and more curious and more curious. And so I would subscribe to, Backlinko, and Matthew Barbie was somebody that I aspired to quite a bit and somebody that I learned from. And so I just kind of kept working my way through the ranks, as it were, and found myself with an emphasis then in media. So you can interrupt me at any point in time, but
this keep going. This is fascinating.
The full breadth of my experience, because it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And then I got emphasis in media, and by media I
Uh-huh.
mean video production and photography,
Uh-huh.
motion graphics, things like that.
Yeah.
Because my CEO at the time, then Jason Hyland, love that dude. He had a Sony 4K in his
Uh-huh.
cabinet, and he said, "Hey guys, we really need to be getting into some media stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
who's got the creativity and who's got the gumption?" And I said, "All right, let's have at it." And so it started with a Sony 4K and a lav mic,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to do some internal culture videos. And
Mm-hmm.
so I flexed my muscles with Adobe there and did some post
Yeah.
production. Kind of became the ad hoc internal video producer. Uh,
Wow.
and then grew that media department into a full-fledged department with tens of thousands of dollars equipment. We were doing,
Wow.
I'd say probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of business on a monthly basis, and building
Wow.
media into our full service digital marketing offering. Grew it
That's awesome.
into two videographers, and then all that time also acting as the digital marketing strategist for my breadth of clients.
Wow.
So then I got out of the media department, hired a very, very intelligent, very smart producer, Matt Zonway. If you get an opportunity, you might want to bend his ear if you're looking for somebody with media emphasis.
Yeah, I would love to. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah,
Interviewing.
he came in and took my place in the media department, and then I started the analyst department. And so that's when I really started to get into data analysis and really talking
Wow.
about building a story with the numbers that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And so that really got me of a very profound understanding of all of the different channels that contribute to a healthy
Yeah.
digital marketing strategy, a more holistic thing. And
Yeah.
so then that sort of elevated me into, all right, I don't want to just be proficient in SEO. I don't just want to be proficient in paid or social or
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Then I became this sort of Swiss Army knife, and I was like, all right, what if I were to lean into this and say, I can help you in your business outside of just your digital footprint. I can
Yeah.
help your business find efficiencies. I can help it find
Yeah.
automations and
Yeah.
help your business grow by way of more than just more traffic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then that found me in an area where I was like, I had this business model and this concept of starting this consultancy that would allow for me to do good work for good people and not really be motivated by anything other than trying to level the playing field for some of these smaller businesses to have a voice and a shot at success in this thing called commerce. And so that sort of theory and that concept and theme and drive seemed to align really, really well with Nikki Picel, who is quite literally one of my favorite people on the planet. And she's the owner, founder, CEO of Seafoam Media, which is where I currently work. And she and I are working together to develop this consultancy division. And we're doing quite well. Things are going really, really well. And I've never been happier in my career. And I think I owe a lot of that to Nikki and the team at Seafoam. They're really good people.
Well, that's awesome.
So that's my journey, and that's how I got here. So it's been about 10 years throughout
That's amazing.
that whole journey. Yeah.
And you've learned a lot. How have you seen digital marketing change over the years between then and now?
Oh my gosh, man. I mean, it's been, I've seen it go from back when you used to highlight and change the color of the font to match the background on the page,
hiding links
and hiding links and keyword stuffing, like that.
Yeah.
That was a very, very real thing. And we were generating black hat SEO videos as a part of our journey in developing the media department to warn people of this sort of stuff. Okay. My very first experience in digital marketing, I'd say profound experience in digital marketing, was actually in disavowing an entire backlink profile for one of our clients and keep in mind that I had just come from making sub sandwiches. right? And so I didn't know anything from anything.
Yeah.
And so they put me on this sort of data entry project, right? Which was to manually go through this backlink profile because this client had been manually penalized by Google.
Oh,
and
wow.
So they were removing search engine. So that was my very first project.
That's
and I
your
didn't
first project to disavow it.
Yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. So it was ultimately data entry, but it was my curiosity and understanding what it was that I was doing and trying to accomplish through this process. That really led me to understand what I was doing was pretty freaking cool. And this was like the first 6 weeks of my job. And so, that was my first project. And so, how has it evolved? I feel like the spammy backlink profile and the link farming and all that stuff where I feel like it still exists.
PBNs.
PBNs, privatized blog networks. Absolutely. Whether by accident, or by design, but, cause I have seen it happen by accident quite a bit too. That's not really so much a player in the game anymore. I'm not saying that it's not something that you need to look out for, but I feel like seeing the evolution of Google's algorithm, not just in the way that it positively services the end user, but in the way that it has developed in an effort to find altruistically the most honest options. And seeing that journey over the course of the last 6 or so years has always been a part of who Google is. But I think in the updates and the Panda update, the semantic indexing updates and trying to understand how humans think
on page became so much more important, didn't it?
Oh my God, all that stuff is it really has gone from such a such a robotic and transactional sort of system to be gamed and developed to become more human and to become more understanding. And so it's not to say that I feel as though SEO is dying. It's not. It's not. It's not at all. It is becoming something completely different in that to appease search engines and to optimize for search and for users, it has become less quantifiable and requires more attention to the human experience. And so there's this methodology that Nikki has turned me on to that I think is quite right in her philosophy in approaching marketing, which is that she believes that the market has evolved beyond where SEO and robotics and all of that can take us. And we're in a day and age where we're going back to the fundamentals of good commerce and good business, which is that people want honesty. People want quality. People want to know they're not being scammed. People want, right? And so it all goes back to sort of that same mentality of like the 70s and just like creating a good, wholesome experience. And so I think that SEO and optimizing for search engines, the technical aspects will always be there. They're always going to be. You're always going to need a healthy, positive backlink profile. You're always going to need really good, influential content. You're always going to need a good UX and a good site architecture. All of these, the schema markup, all of that tech, right? That all still is there.
Important.
It is, but that's like setting the stage, right? And I really feel like, and this is where, you hear a lot of people will say in conversations with clients is that like organic takes time. It's like farming versus hunting, right? You got to be patient. And I think that a lot of people think that you have to be patient because you plug in your optimization, so to speak, and then you sit and you wait for Google to index these changes, right? And it's like, in 6 weeks time. That's not what it means. SEO takes time because it's more than just content on your website. It's understanding intent. It's anticipating users' needs.
Gosh.
It's,
matching user intents.
Yeah, the reason why it's such a long-term game is because the meat and potatoes of a solid SEO strategy is in understanding the user experience.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that gets lost a lot is like CRO and
Mm-hmm.
conversion rate
Oh gosh.
optimization, and how profoundly important that's become and will
Yeah.
continue to be
Yeah.
in SEO is something that
I'm,
fascinates.
yeah, I'm laughing because everybody knows that I used to work in the car industry for like 7 or 8 years. Who listens to the show, and when I got there, they were driving traffic to empty. We call them vehicle detail pages. So in e-commerce, it would be a single product page. The final page that you want the person to reach. And in the car industry, there's vehicle results pages. Those are the search pages, like the search for the results listings. In e-commerce, it would be product listings. But we had new vehicle search listings, used vehicle search listings, and we had VDPs and VRPs, vehicle results pages, and new and used VDPs, just so people can understand the context of what I'm saying. So it's funny that you bring that up, because when I got there, no word of a lie, Ryan, like they were they were driving traffic from PPC to vehicle detail pages that had no pictures, no video, no descriptions. I'm wondering why they weren't converting. Blowing thousands of dollars on a stupid Google Ads campaign that wasn't going to do anything, and wondering why they're not getting any leads. You talk about CRO. So I had to pause everything, put everything on pause.
Sure.
And then develop. And you talked about developing strategies for the business. It was more than just marketing. It's okay. We need to get down to the foundational. And I had to implement G Suite at the time into the entire business before we did any marketing, so that we could have a foundation to be able to do. 55 employees. Marketer.
Well, what you needed an infrastructure.
Yeah, I need an infrastructure to get it done. Yeah, exactly. There was no infrastructure. It was crazy, because what I did was once I had that infrastructure,
it's free. And it's free.
Well, we were paying for the paid version.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, to get started, like,
yes. So, and I even negotiated for a 30% discount based on the volume of accounts that we were buying. But anyway, the point being is that you talked about all these things that just triggered me, this story in me, that I created a Google group, because churn rate in the automotive industry is so high. Mm-hmm. And there was like 13, 14, 15 forms on a car dealer website because of all the different conversion points. And can you imagine every time a sales manager gets fired, which is very often, because it's such a cutthroat, I have to go in and change the names of notifications on every single one of those forms. It's crazy, man. So I created a Google group called lead.notifications@domainname.com. And I put every person in that Google group. And then I added that address to all of the forms. And then all I had to do was change one thing instead of 16. So I had to set up the foundation, and I had to implement, because they were wondering, why isn't he doing any marketing? Well, dude, I'm laying the foundation for marketing. I had to implement an inventory management process and create the entire thing from beginning of how to inventory vehicles. When I say inventory, take the pictures, write the descriptions, make the video, create an inventory management platform, select one. Not create it, select the proper one to use, easiest one to use, one with the most value. And when I did all that, that's when the big magic happened. Now we can start to do marketing. Now we can start to do dynamic inventory marketing. Now we can start to
I feel like that's
things like that.
And you mentioning that, you hit the nail on the head. And I feel like that's oftentimes a misconception about marketing, right? And that marketing is, and oftentimes when there needs to be budget cuts and things like that, marketing is the first on the chopping block because of this misconception.
Yes.
And the misconception is that marketing is money in, money out.
Yeah.
And that's not what it is. There's so much about investing in your brand and its omnipresence. In space, and what space you occupy, and what your personality is in commerce online. It's like having a forever billboard, right? That is constantly evolving and changing, and something that you need to always be representative of your most relevant services at any given point in time for any reason. And so to think that marketing should be the first thing on the chopping block when you need new business. It's not. It's actually something that you need to pour into, because the marketing isn't what occurs outside of your business. It's what happens inside of your business, and it's how other people interpret your business. And that's a very, very important investment and a very important distinction. And I think that understanding that you're only as good as the systems that you occupy, and you're only as good as the systems that you use, is very, very important. And that sometimes will necessitate a foundational shift in the systems and software that you're using. You can't properly and adequately market a business without having some sort of a pulse on the infrastructure and some sort of influence on the business as a whole, because they need to be, what the business is and what the business is that you're marketing need to be the same thing.
Yeah, you're so right, man. So right. Hey, what role does creative design? I mean, you're a very creative person. You can tell you play all those instruments behind you. You're learning how to play drums. How does the creative design role, the creative design play in your SEO work or your consulting work even? And how do you integrate that design with optimization?
Cool.
So I guess I'm asking you the question.
That's a loaded question. It's like
creative and technical, and your experience in being a musician and a creative person, and how that has impacted you in order to do those things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's there's this right brain, left brain, right? Mentality, and that's I think some of what I find so appealing, and why this career really has resonated for me, and why I enjoy it so much is because it allows for me to flex both of those muscles.
Same here.
And I'm a very analytical and very technical person. I thank my dad for that. I grew up. He was a news broadcaster.
Oh wow!
So he's a journalistic and very regimented person, and so I get a lot of my analyses and my logical thinking and critical thinking skills from him. And so there's that part of my brain that I utilize to understand and recognize patterns.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel that's really advantageous in leveraging data is in being able to discern trends and being able to look into the weeds, right? And be able to cross-reference different data sources to be able to tell a story. So there's that part that I enjoy, and that part that is very academic. The creative part of it, and this is where, you see my musical instruments in the background and whatnot, is I'm just by nature a very emotional person, and have always been and fostered a very creative mindset also through my father, who is a drummer. And I grew up. Oh, wow. I grew up a musician. He was a drummer. We had a little family band. I started playing guitar when I was 9 years old. And so from a very, very young age, creativity and music and art and emotional expression have always been just like this this part of me, a very, very large part of me, almost all of me. And so I've always had this affinity for creativity and expression. Being able to distill down what creatively makes me connect, and what makes me feel, and what makes me emote, and connect to a brand. It's being able to distill that creatively down into something digestible, and then being able to, on the other side of it, try to measure its success. Is such a rewarding and wholesome and all encompassing, I should say, experience, because the marketing strategy then becomes something that you can fully realize from ideation to analyses. And being able to be a part of that journey at every step of the way, being able to influence creatively what I feel a user will identify with and how a brand should be represented. And being able to distill that down into technical know-how so that the robots of the world can see it as valuable as we humans do. And that being that translator as I see it is tough, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And isn't it rewarding?
The creative part, I don't know if that answered your question or if that kind of deviated, but that's
okay. I mean, I think, the creative, I think coming up with the creative side of things is, like, for instance, maybe I gave it for instance, like when I was at the dealership, I had to create creative stuff all the time. For instance, the OEM, the manufacturer, always came up with new campaigns every 2 months. And I had to create creative based off those campaigns. I couldn't create my own campaigns. So one of the things I did was I created, you mentioned media before. Well, Ryan, I went into Photoshop and I created 8 different layers, if you will, and 8 or 9 different layers, maybe 10, 12, whatever. But the different layer, for like one layer would be 0% financing. But instead of calling it a layer, I call it a frame. And it was a nice graphic. And then I created all these different layers, 90 days, no payments, no payments for 90 days, and so on and so forth. And I created the colors based on the brand, but I created the initial
macro.
I created the initial graphic based on the creative that was provided by the OEM. And then I took that and I had it made into a video, paid somebody on Fiverr to make that into a video and used music. And it became an animated 30-second video that I used for a bumper video on Facebook and on YouTube, and a pre-roll video and a retargeting video and so on and so forth. Yeah. And I used it to create display ads, my own display ads every 2 months, in 4 different. I only used the top most popular 4 dimensions for display ads, and then I was doing retargeting on the retargeting platform.
That's the minimum effort, maximum impact, right?
Exactly, because the website was leaking traffic. So instead of getting to leak traffic, so the point being, I was using the creative side in the technical things. Like, for instance, the creative side of, hey, why don't we use dynamic inventory retargeting? Facebook has this product shopping tool. It's very technical. Well, from a creative point of view, we took the inventory feed. We fed the inventory feed from the IMS inventory management system. We fed it to a Google sheet, and then we remapped the columns. Yeah. Like we remapped the columns technical to be creative. So what Facebook wanted, and Facebook didn't have an vehicle inventory product at the time. I believe they created it as a result of what we did, because we did this back in 2013 before they even had it. Yeah. And we blew the dealership up. And so then the inventory feed, so when people would go from an ad on Google, that we were doing dynamic inventory ads on Google. So they were long tail, low cost, low competition, high converting words, like a 2000. And
it was a vacant market.
Losing people who were searching for a 2018 Ford F-150. If we had it in stock, the ad came up. If they hit the VDP and they didn't convert, we retargeted them on Facebook with carousel ads, product ads, leveraging before Facebook even had the inventory product. And we were everywhere all the time. And my thing was, I thought that everybody knew how to do what I was doing. I only eventually discovered that was not the case. Because just sharing my story a little bit, because you triggered me to talk. I don't mean to take over the interview. I don't like to do that.
No, please. This is shared experience.
I matched creative with technical by doing all of those things. And we were everywhere all the time. I'll never forget 2 things. I went into a local mastermind meeting with some other dealers that was put on by these agents, these people who were in the car industry. One of them was actually the founder of the IMS that I was using, the inventory management system. I won't name drop or say the name of the company just because of privacy. And the other person was a guy who owned an actual car dealer marketing agency and started a car dealer marketing podcast, and tipped my hat to him. But they said, well, there's all these people in this room, but we don't really have any anybody who's in direct competition. And then he looked a second time, well, except for two people, Matt and Mitch Sam. I think his name wasn't Mitch, but Matt and Mitch. And then Mitch says, well, there actually isn't really any competition because I don't know what the F Matt is doing, but he's kicking our a-hole every single month. He's everywhere all the time. And I had no idea. I thought, man, I'm just doing this. I don't know. To me, it was just normal. Like, you should just normally do this stuff. Like, but I quickly came to realize, because I then brought in some of my friends who started a back-end consulting agency for car dealers doing back-end marketing. What I mean by back-end marketing, so after the conversion happens, there's SOPs to get the client into the dealership for a test drive. Yeah. And then
the nurturing.
He took a dealership. Yeah, he took a dealership in Miami, where he's from, in the Miami area, from a Toyota dealership, from less than 200 cars a month to over 400. And he was on the cover of a NADA magazine as one of the top 2 internet sales professionals in the entire country. Yeah. I don't want to say his name.
I mean, there's a good portion of that. There's a good portion of that for sure is due to skill and know-how. And there's also a part of it too that, and this is, I think, an important part of understanding marketing and also mitigating expectations, is that there is a portion of it too that is right place, right time.
Yeah. For sure.
And I don't just mean in a sense of like making a video go viral, right, on Twitter or something like that. Yeah. When I say right place, right time, I mean, where are you at in deploying your strategy? And does where you're at in deploying that strategy necessitate you looking somewhere to find a solution where maybe a software is offering something that's in beta or something that, right? And then you have access all of a sudden to information that you didn't have access to before. And you're partnering with a startup company who has developed the software that does this thing. And then all of a sudden you're first to the punch when Google releases this new feature, right? So it is, I'm not saying there wasn't any skill involved in what you were doing, because there absolutely is. But there is a portion of it too that's just like anticipating the market and anticipating the shifts in technology and tools made available to us. Yeah. That's why I think that GPT and AI stuff is so absolutely.
Oh man!
And I'm so glad you brought it up. I don't want to poke the bear.
No, I'm glad you went there. I was going to bring it up.
But that's and I think we have to anticipate these sorts of things, in order to adequately integrate it into our industry, because if we look at it as an opposition, y'all, it's going to take us out. Yeah. Right. And my methodology and my feeling is, if you can't beat them, join them. Right.
Absolutely.
And so there's this thought process and this philosophical debate. Is a very polarizing conversation, and I love it. But you have the one side of the coin, the individuals, and rightfully so. I'm not trying to take anything away from their intimidation and or their fear or both, because it's a very real thing, and I think that we all share it. And I think it'd be foolish to try and say that there's not anything to be scared of here. I agree with you. Especially in terms of job security, right? And ultimately, that's the concern, which I understand, and for the individuals who have to this point been on the receiving end of downsizing and things like that because of ChatGPT, my heart goes out to you, and I'm not trying to diminish any of that impact that it has made, because it will continue to make that impact. And for that, I'm so sorry. But it's also just a necessary step in evolution in technology. And it's a necessary evil, and we see it differently now than we will 10 years from now, just as we have
5 years from now, 3 years from now.
Exactly. 6 months from now, even
6 months from now. Yeah.
So I say all this to say that is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is very fervently, I fall on this side. Is integrating this technology into our capacity and understanding how to leverage it, not as an answer, but as a part of a solution.
Assistant.
As an assistant, right? Yes. And if I can have, if I can have a piece of technology do what it does in terms of developing code for a plugin, and or
Analyzing data,
analyzing data,
writing creative copy.
establishing trends, writing creative copy, not to say that they're going to nail it, but to say that this is a good starting point, the
Absolutely.
efficiencies that it creates.
Yeah.
Now, it's not within it's not within the copywriters. I'm using
Best
copywriter
interest,
as an
but
example. It's not within the copywriter's best interest to be afraid of AI and how it's going to replace them. It's within the copywriter's best interest to understand
leverage
AI
it
and how to leverage it for their own efficiencies, because then they can make their service offering and their value scalable. And that to me is the exciting part. And so while I understand there's a lot to be afraid of, that begets another point in the discussion, which is that is part of evolution in technology and in anticipating the market and trying to think ahead is and being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Bring it full circle.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Absolutely. Hey, I know of a guy who's making $1 million a month right now, writing sales letters, direct response sales letters for businesses using AI. He taught 7 other people who don't even know how to write direct response copy to use the tools to write the copy, hired them as employees and scaled. And now he's making $1 million a month leveraging AI. So for people out there, copywriters who think it's going to replace you, don't let it replace you.
Don't let it. Yeah, that's really what it is.
Don't live in fear that it's going to replace you. Leverage it. Leverage it.
So there is this part of it too, though, and this is the part of it I think that is arguably more important in the argument, and I say more substantial of a case for the other side of the coin. Is not for fear of losing their job or the value that they provide in the market, but being concerned about how brands are represented online by way of this artificial intelligence, and the fear that is in an already technological world, especially online and in digital and e-commerce, creating more separation between the user and the brand by removing the human from the marketing. And being fearful that this is this sort of like synthetic brand, this synthetic experience with brands online, and how transactional it can become. That, if you overuse or misuse AI in your marketing strategies, or you don't do enough to Q&A and to cross-check and do checks and balances and make sure that your messaging is present and honest. If you're not doing those things, there is a fear that that ingenuity in the space will start to crack and shatter. And the world as we know it and connecting humans with brands will be gone. It'll be this thing of the past. It'll be this thing that you have a bunch of robots writing text and we're on the outside going, I just want to buy a pair of jeans from somebody, who's going to weave them themselves, I don't know.
It's going to be amazing. The metaverse, not to might as well go, the shopping experience will be, you'll put on some goggles and go into a virtual mall and find your jeans and buy those jeans. It's unbelievable. That's actually gonna. It's just incredible.
That's again. It's like the people. I'm trying to think, equate it to some sort of evolution in technology, but I'll make it music since I'm into music.
Yeah.
It's like the people who are nostalgic for vinyl records.
Vinyl records, which I grew up listening to.
Now it's not just enough to, I've got vinyl after vinyl after vinyl, but it's not to me, and this is the emotional part of me. This is the human part of me that I leverage in my marketing strategies in connection. I'm not super excited about shopping for that vinyl because I'm excited to take it home so that I can, because I'm excited to hear it. Yes to all of that. Obviously, that's why I'm in the store. I want the tactile experience of walking into a record shop. I want to see all the posters and the joy of flipping through the vinyl and doing that, that experience. And that's something that I think, I'll call out my buddy Brett, who also works at Seafoam, because he and I got into a very philosophical discussion about pro con chat GPT and the contributions it can make. And that is one point that he made that I just can't shake, which is fast forward 10 years from now, if we continue to leverage AI and if it gets out of hand and it becomes so, if it cannibalizes marketing and the human aspect of marketing becomes removed, how much further away are we going to get from being able to show up at a record shop and thumb through some records? That breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I think they're always, I think there's always going to need to be a human operator. Maybe not so many people to execute, but a human operator to bring the human touch to. Now it will improve. No doubt AI.
And that's what I said to Brad is I think that where you mitigate that risk is ensuring that you have very smart individuals who understand your brand inside and out, cross-checking and making sure that these things are not synthesized, that they have heart, that they have soul. And so it's just kind of molding the strategist's role into being a little bit different, into occupying a different part of your brain. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And maybe pivoting too. For instance, I pivoted into starting a business. I won't go into what it is that is not, I pivoted into starting a business that uses marketing to assist the marketing of the business, not necessarily providing services direct to another business, but services that are direct to a consumer that will not be replaceable by AI. Not at all. But yet I can use all the tools to assist me to market this specific service offering to reach consumers, to be able to provide value to them, to be able to make money. So there's that sort of thing. Like that guy who is making $1 million a month writing direct response copy.
Right.
You still have to know the facets of the ingredients to make that successful. Like for instance, anybody out there, Dan Kennedy, the ultimate sales letter. It's a framework for writing sales letters. But you have to know, his business partner at one time, Bill Glazer, said that the number one skill that every single entrepreneur and small business owner should learn is copywriting. Yeah. It's the most expensive thing and it's the most effective thing. That's why it's the most expensive. And whether you're going to write copy or not, even if you don't want to become a copywriter, you should still learn copy so that you can identify good copy from bad copy.
Yes.
And so, he said that, and it's like, you still have to know how to implement and know the difference between crap copy and good copy, whether you're using AI or not. And because it can spit out some garbage. If you get, whoa, that's great. It's like, no, wait a minute. Here comes along someone who actually knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about, knows how to make this little switch. To just know, improve that just a little bit, because I know what the qualities are of a good headline, and I know what the purposes of a good headline. It's to lead to a sub headline, and the sub headline is to lead to the first paragraph, and the first paragraph is to make them towards the second paragraph. And what are the elements of all of those things that go into and using those things?
But the copywriter will tell you not to interrupt you, but the copywriter.
No, go ahead.
Copywriter would tell you that they want to write copy. They don't want to be an editor.
Yeah, well, they need to pivot.
I understand, but that's and I guess that there's a difference between creative writing, right, and writing for marketing purposes. But I don't know, and that's why it's such a polarizing conversation, right? Is because what I just touched on is very much like music is very near and dear to me. Copywriting. By way of trade in terms of marketing is that we see it as a part of the service that we provide, but we forget the emotional attachment to being able to express yourself via written word. And whether you're doing that on behalf of a brand or whether you're writing your memoirs, it's a very expressive art. It's an art form, and whether it's used for marketing or not. And so I think that where there is concern is is I think in the selfish aspect of getting to enjoy your job and not being not being able to not being required to show up every day and just try and sift through the matrix to find errors from a robot. Like that's a very different thing from copywriting, and I can understand that fear as an emotional and creative person myself. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. I think.
But here's the other side of it too. Okay, so this is that's just the copywriting side. We haven't talked anything about how profound JourneyBot is. Or Journeyman. Sorry, not JourneyBot. Journeyman. Do you know Journeyman?
No.
Just was just one example of creative AI, and it's a Discord. So it and I can share my screen if you want me to, but are
you talking about Midjourney or is there something
Midjourney?
Separate?
Yes,
Midjourney. Yeah, okay.
Journey. I think
that's
Midjourney.
Okay. I got a little confused there. Midjourney. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. I have it open on my computer right now, actually. But let's talk about that and how the threat of AI. We just equated it to copywriting, right? Okay. Now the graphical element of it.
The graphical element, the logos.
So here, check this. It's and I've had multiple conversations with my design team about this. And I think it's exciting, but it's also scary. That it in and of itself is going to become its own type of art, right? It's going to be its own type of. So, say if you were a brand right now, you could lean into this image AI thing as a part of your marketing strategy, and it would probably go like gangbusters. So here's one for free for whoever's watching this video.
Sure.
You're a coffee company. Okay. You're selling coffee online. You're selling powdered coffee, cold coffee brew, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Go to an AI image generator and prompt it into providing for you and you can upload an image, right? So you have product photography of your product, upload the image, and then you can scale it. You can say, I want you to use my image as reference on a scale of 1 to 5, meaning that I want you to really try to
replicate
this. Versus I want you to just have a version of this so that the brand is ingrained. And then you can rinse and repeat this piece of art, giving very specific feedback in your prompt, saying, tweak this, tweak that. So even if it's not within 15 seconds, Matt, within 5 to 10 minutes, you can have a very, very profound, creative 3D rendering. And you can put it in space. You can put it in underwater. You can put it knows no bounds. Okay. And so you can do this and you can replicate this process and you can scale it because the more imagery you make, the more defined the brand becomes.
Yeah.
So then
it's so exciting.
Then your brand is AI and it's like, holy smokes. And it can learn in real time. So, so then here applying it to then the creative and design aspect of it. And this is where I get so excited is that if one is so defiant to absorb and learn how to leverage AI, you're going to miss the boat. Because what's going to happen is inevitably 6 months from now, while you're over here concerned about holding on to your artistic integrity, all of the business is going to be flowing through the agency that is able to spit out this stuff and leverage it. And leverage it. And the skill and the value that I provide as a strategist is now in my foundational understanding of AI. Because I can go and tell you right now that you can create a very specific piece of social media creative with a very specific set of dimensions for a very specific purpose. And I can give that to you within the next 15 minutes. But that's just the tip of the
It's just a
iceberg.
small part. Yeah.
That's just a very, very, very small part.
Yeah. Because you need to know
And
the
so-
customer journey to know what kind of content to create.
Well,
Know who
it's
your
not
target
just
persona is, your market is, so on and so
target
forth.
persona, bingo.
Yeah.
And,
So many
and,
people
and,
don't.
and,
Mhm.
two, beyond that, I think it's exciting and I think it's scary, but I also think that it's a very exciting time for people in marketing because right now the playing field is level.
Oh, yeah.
In terms
so true.
in terms of AI, the playing field's level. Everything's equal, which means that I can spit out the same level of work as not to call him out, but Gary V. Right?
Yeah, Vaynerchuk, yeah.
Right. But if I wanted to really invest the time into developing an infrastructure, to develop a tool, to do whatever, blah, 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 it would take some time.
The playing field has been leveled.
The playing field's been leveled.
What an amazing story he has.
And so if you can muster the gumption, which to be honest with you is how I've made my career, is via gumption, is I'm going to lean into this thing. And then when AI is going to become so developed, I will have been able to say that I've understood it on a fundamental level and have been applying it to my marketing strategies since.
I've been doing it for a year. Yeah.
So
I started using Jasper last May.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Hey,
I love it.
Wrapping things up, what advice would you give to businesses struggling to succeed in their digital marketing efforts?
You say that again?
My apologies. What advice would you give to businesses struggling to succeed in their digital marketing efforts? What's one first thing you would tell them to do?
Listen to your customers.
Right on. Absolutely.
Pay attention. Pay attention. Ask.
Yeah. I know who they are. If you don't even know who your customers are, because so many businesses don't even know who their customers are.
Listen,
like their customer persona.
More and more users appreciate and understand empathy and vulnerability. And there's nothing wrong with sending out an email asking, how are we doing?
Yeah, for sure.
And listening to your audience and pivoting is
getting the feedback. Wow.
And learning how to apply, to be more specific to your question, learning how to apply what feedback you've received from your user base to your marketing strategies. Is very, very, very important. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable with your brand. Let your audience feel like they're a part of something.
Absolutely.
And if you can do that, then you'll always have a good foundation. You'll have that brand loyalty. You'll have that to go on.
Right on. Hey, what are your future goals and aspirations for your digital marketing career?
It's a good question. I want to grow.
You can plead the fifth if you want.
I would like to continue on this path that I'm on with Seafoam Media, and continuing to develop this consultancy division. There's such a wide array of business types and business sizes, with varying levels of understanding and proficiency of marketing, and specifically in digital, that I just want to make my services available to these small business owners, because like I said, I'm all about leveling the playing field.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where I see myself and what I hope for myself in the next 5 years is to be at a point where, the consultancy arm of Seafoam is self-sustaining and growing, and I can spend my time maybe traveling around and doing some keynote speaking, that sort of thing.
Right on. That's awesome. Hey, it's been an absolute total 100% blast having you here today. It's been so much fun talking to you. How can our listeners connect with you online if they choose to do so?
Yeah, sure. They can, seafoammedia.com is the agency website. We're currently going through a rebrand. So if you were to go there right now, you're going to see our old brand. And our new brand is slowly rolling out right now.
Just Seafoam?
Yep, Seafoam Media.
Okay, cool.
And so, yeah. So go to the website. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. Reach out to me via on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I'm very responsive there.
Right on.
Yeah.
Hey, make sure to put that info in the show notes. Hey.
Yeah. Hey,
so
also
much...
real quick, because it's relevant.
Go ahead. Yep.
My colleague and I, Jared Lender, who's client success manager, account manager at Seafoam, he and I have been working together throughout my entire journey. He and I have been working together. Really good dude. He and I are going to be starting a podcast, actually.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's called Above the Fold.
Above the Fold. What a cool name for a podcast.
Thank you very much. So
I know
keep
exactly
your eyes
what
peeled.
you're talking about. Cool.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled, and I'll be sure to shoot you a note.
That is such a cool name for a podcast. Right on. Hey, again, it's been a pleasure. Would love to have you back again. But it's been awesome talking to you today.
Likewise.